I think Lecker's built for that. You know, they've lost Katoa, we talked about that, but don't lose this kid. He's only 19, he could be here for a long time.
For anyone who does want another NRL side out of NZ, it appears as though we might just be waiting, though, a few years yet. Do you want a prize? Is that what you're saying? Do you want me to give you a prize because you won the second half?
Mate, we need a bonus point for winning the second half in such tough conditions.
Welcome to the DSPN.
John Walker wins the 1,500 metres gold medal at the Olympic Games. The All Blacks have won by 29 points to 9.
The Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the podcast, people. It's Tuesday, BLT. That's not bacon, lettuce, tomato. It's Big League Tuesday. So we dedicate the show, the podcast, to the NRL. Tony Kemp joining us to talk through the Warriors, what he thought about the win against Newcastle. Sir Graham Lowe on news out of Australia regarding the Perth bid, Western Bears 2027, another NRL side added to the comp, and then PNG 2028. And the Daily Telegraph yesterday reporting that any other inclusion is going to be put on hold till after the Brisbane Olympic Games in 2032. So what does that mean for Sir Graham's Christchurch bid? As well as that, Matt Gunn joining us as well. Gunny, Bulldogs fan, cock-a-hoop he was, until the Broncos got hold of his mob and gave them a real touch-up, especially in that first half. First loss of the season for the Dogs. All of that to talk about on the show today. But we begin the same way every day.
Marty sermons brought to you by WebWonks. Generate online leads with WebWonks. Doctors for your Google data.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Just before we talk about two more NRL teams out of New Zealand, is that wishful thinking or is it an achievable dream? A little bit of housekeeping. Thank you so much for supporting us. Hit that subscribe button. DSPN YouTube channel, 6,100 subscribers now, over 850,000 views in just 21 weeks on the channel. So thank you so much for supporting us. If you're listening via Rover, wherever you find your favourite podcasts, all of the interviews we put in the show every afternoon, and then we split it all up into bite-sized chunks for you on the DSPN YouTube channel. Put a lot of clips out on social media as well, all over TikTok and Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. If you want to hear the interviews in full, well then you know where to listen to or where to go if you want to watch them. So, another New Zealand side or two in the NRL. At this stage, now looking much more unlikely than likely, the comp is set to expand from 17 to 20 teams. That has to happen. That's what the NRL do want. 3 separate hands went up in Christchurch last year, each with high-profile names attached to impressive-looking bids before a fourth from Mana Pacifica, that consortium launched alongside earlier this year. Since then, one of the Christchurch bids has withdrawn, leaving New Zealand with 3 remaining possibilities. And got to say, all of them at first glance look pretty damn good on paper. Remembering, though, that a press release or two, financial promises, a few fancy CGI graphics and a spokesperson attached is all that they initially are. However, news late last week out of Oz sounds like proceedings may have stalled somewhat. First, not yet officially confirmed, but widely reported, the ARL Commission have struck what's called an in-principle agreement with Western Australia to revive the Bears. The ex-North Sydney Bears, going to be called the Western Bears. That side set to join, as I said, in 2027, followed by a PNG side in 2028, leaving just one spot remaining to complete the 20. And us, New Zealand, competing with Queensland to grab it. Problem now, though, as it seems, according to reports out of the Daily Telegraph, that team number 20 could be delayed for the best part of another 10 years, with the NRL said to be shelving the idea until after the 2032 Olympic Games in Brisbane. What that means for the New Zealand bids is unclear. So Graham Lowe is going to join us on the show today to shed some light on what that now means for him and his backers. The Warriors will probably be a little happier after overtures from many in the club that New Zealand doesn't need or want a second franchise side. Clearly they don't, but I'd also argue they speak only on behalf of themselves and their own interests and not those of all other league fans or already committed consortiums in this country. With immediate prospects looking less and less likely, it may pay to revisit an old Pantene shampoo commercial, if you recall, starring Rachel Hunter, who once so famously said, "It won't happen overnight, but it will happen." Let's hope so. For anyone who does want another NRL side out of NZ, it appears as though we might just be waiting, though, a few years yet.
Devlin.
Every Tuesday on Big League Tuesday, we have a little feature called Glass Half Full.
Glass half full.
Yeah, where 8 teams make the finals. I got 8 glasses, and Lachlan decides whether he's glass half full, glass half empty on teams, scenarios, situations that I put to him. Yes! Your Broncos to start with 42-18 over the Bulldogs. You were glass half empty after the Warriors game. I'm presuming and assuming that you're now glass half full?
I think so. I think I would be a hard to please man, and I'm not hard to please, but I would be a hard to please man if I did have them at glass half empty, because that was a superb performance against the Bulldogs on Thursday. Yeah, look, the second half, to get that out of the way quickly, the Bulldogs, I guess, were the better side. They looked a bit better, but they had more of the ball, and they started to sort of pin Brisbane in their own half a wee bit, and the territory battle started edging towards the Bulldogs, and they sort of strangled us a bit. But that first half was one of the best first 40 minutes of rugby league I've ever seen. And I don't think I'm being too biased by saying that. It's up there with what Melbourne did to the Warriors earlier this year.
Great.
Melbourne against Parramatta in round 1 was good as well, but that didn't feel as suffocating as what the Broncos did the other night.
Well, also you're doing it against the top of the table side that hadn't lost the game.
I mean, I think about the 2022 grand final with how Penrith just battered Parramatta in the first half. The 2018 grand final with the Roosters against Melbourne, and how much better they were against Melbourne.
Was Evan Cooper-Cronk had a separated shoulder?
Yeah, and he was essentially just telling everyone where to go and guiding them around the field. He wasn't really actually touching the ball much. So the Broncos, it was helped by the Bulldogs made a mistake, I think, with their first set. We got the ball and then just pinned them in their half.
Okay, enough. You're glass half full, mate.
But it's a massive turnaround from the previous week. It's a huge turnaround.
But glass half empty, glass half full on the Panthers, though, because that's who you've got next in Magic Round. And you're going to be over there with your 0-6 record watching your team play.
No, because I haven't got tickets for the Sunday.
Get tickets.
Yet. I might purposely go.
Oh, stop it. This is your coming of age party. You're playing a Panthers side that's lost 5 out of the last 6.
Now, I said to you in the office last week, what's going to happen is the Broncos, this was before Thursday, I said we're going to beat the Dogs and then we're going to lose to Penrith. That's what's going to happen here. Penrith have just lost a game after beating the Roosters pretty handily, who then looked good against the Dragons. And then Manly, of course, beat the Panthers. Penrith are just such a tricky one to work out. They keep chopping and changing that spine. I thought they'd beat Manly. I tipped them. Manly obviously got off to a good start, and then Panthers
Manly had lost their previous 3 games to that.
Penrith kind of came back, and then Manly, when Penrith closed the score, I thought, here we go, they're going to see this game out. No, Manly then scored a couple of tries, I think, and then ran away with the game.
Well, you're glass half full, glass half empty.
Well,
Penrith.
I don't know. I was glass half full after last week because I thought, okay, all they need is just one win, and then they're going to get back on a roll.
That's what we all thought.
But no, this is not a team that... Now, you can have tough starts to a year if you're the defending premiers, or you're a finals contender and you've lost some players, injuries, whatever it is. You can have tough starts to a year, but I've always thought that if you can get one win, especially a big one against a Roosters team who are tricky to beat sometimes, I just thought the Penrith would come right, and they haven't.
They haven't.
So it's really, really strange what's going on.
They're 17th.
Yeah. They're last. They are last.
They're bottom of the table. They are glass half empty. There's no question about that. Warriors.
I think they'll beat Brisbane, so...
Warriors. Well, you've got to be glass half full.
Yeah, glass half full on where they are on the table, glass half full on their record, glass half full on the fact they are doing their job, they're getting points, and they're putting themselves in a good position.
You've just defined the competition.
Now, yes, I have. That was not pretty against the Knights at all.
Doesn't have to be.
No, I know, but if we could talk about that performance, which is what you're asking me mainly about, that wasn't a great performance. The Warriors were lucky that the Knights botched 3 or 4 different opportunities.
Maybe it's lucky about the Knights. The Knights have lost what? Their last 5 games.
Yeah, but they're still a tough side to beat. But granted, the numbers, though, don't really back that up, do they? So there were some chances in the first half that the Knights botched, and the Warriors... bounced the ball, sort of went their way. For the most part, they took advantage of their opportunities, so you can't complain with that. And defensively, they were good, I thought, the Warriors.
I just think you've got to look at where they're at. They have lost 1-1 out of the last 4 games.
The schedule really is, Kempe called it a soft draw, I think, last week, and the Warriors have a lot going their way in terms of
Don't make excuses,
draw.
mate. Just look at the points table. Look at the table.
No. I'm just saying, when you also factor in that when they're playing at home, well, their opposition has to come to another blooming country.
Oh, here we go. Well, you've got to fly out of the country every second week.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. They're pretty used to it. I think it's fair to say that they're more used to that than other teams are to come to New Zealand.
Fill that glass up and overflow.
No, I've told you I'm glass half full, but until they play again, Melbourne, and show up, I can't say Brisbane, even I can't say that
No,
yet.
you can't. You had
I think
one decent game.
The Dogs, round one we were good. The Dogs, I think Canberra, especially after round one, they've got a respite. I'm not sure if they play Canberra a second time this year, but they need to play another top four side.
Well, here
I think
it comes.
before we can say that the Warriors
glass half
are
full,
as good
glass
as the
half
table
empty
suggests.
on those Cowboys who have won their last 4. Lost the first 3, won 3, had a bye, had another win. So there's only 2 teams in the comp that are on 4-match winning streaks, Raiders and Cowboys. So glass half full on that Cowboys side, playing, as you said, in Brisbane Magic Round against the Warriors.
Oh, glass half full.
Have to be.
Without a doubt.
Have to be.
The Cowboys have turned it around.
They've found form.
They found form, but again, pump the brakes a little bit. This is what they do. There's probably going to be a point where they lose 3 or 4 games in a row where the defence lets them down and maybe the points aren't coming as easily as they typically have. But they are a team who are, I think, well coached and they have some really good origin players. I did say, I think, at the start of the year that the Cowboys are a team who they've got rep talent, but the representative talent, this might sound a bit odd. I hope that this makes sense. It's talent that kind of came out of nowhere in 2022. Prior to that year where they were 1 win away from the grand final, a bunch of players, Ruben Cotter, Jeremiah Nanai, Murray Taulangi, a lot of these guys were pretty unknown. And then all of a sudden, these are all these...
Yeah, but they're now stars, mate.
I know, I'm just saying. So then for them to sort of fall away a little bit the last couple of years or be up and down didn't totally shock me because the talent was good. It wasn't totally established. So... they're playing well now. Tom Dearden's back in form. He's playing really well. John Bateman somehow still has a contract with that club. I'll never let that go. He shouldn't be on the roster there. And he's now wearing headgear to try and hide his face so people don't actually know who he is. But there could be a point where they start to stumble. But they're not right now. And obviously I hope, for my sake, when I'm watching them on Saturday night at Suncorp Stadium, I'm giving it to the Warriors. I hope the Cowboys turn up and smack
You're
them.
a New Zealander in Brisbane, mate. You've got to support the New Zealand team.
People have brought this up. There's been comments on the YouTube channel about this. People have told me for years.
Yes.
No, the Warriors aren't a national side. The Kiwis are the national side.
Oh, here we go.
I support the Kiwis, absolutely. But I don't support the Warriors.
You're
are a
going to go over
franchise.
there with a bunch of mates who are all supporting what?
No, one of them's a Brisbane fan. There's another guy over there who lives in Brisbane. Yeah, I think apart from them, I think the rest might be Warriors fans. I'm not too sure, actually.
Raiders.
I don't care. But I don't care.
Glass
I don't
half full,
care.
glass half empty on Ricky. That was incredible, that game
Ricky's
on
already
Sunday.
smashed the glass, so I can't really pour anything
I
into
tell
it.
you what, that first half, the Dolphins, everything they touched turned to tries. There were balls that were just... in the end goal, they scored the try. Then in the second half, it was like the 2 teams had swapped jerseys. And the Raiders came out, and you keep saying every week, the Raiders are like that. They're like that. They've won 4 in a row now. They're sitting 3rd on the table.
No, they are.
They're
But they just
6-2.
showed you what they do over about 4 or 5 games, and they crunch that down into 80 minutes. This team is hard, but they've won 4 in a row. 4 in a row? Yeah, because they were 2 and 2. Yeah. No, they were 1 and 2, weren't they? Because they beat Cronulla in round 4. Weren't they 1 and 2?
Yeah, they might. No, yeah, they've won 4 years. So they.
No. Sorry, they were 2 and 2 because they beat the Warriors and they beat Brisbane. Then they lost to Manly.
That's right, they
and
lost to- yeah.
It was the Cowboys.
They were 2 and 2. Yeah,
they were 2 and 2. Sorry.
your glass half full.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
A bit like the Cowboys, I'll pump the brakes a bit though because the Raiders have done this for years. But as it stands, glass half full.
All right, glass half full.
Though that perform,
On the Dogs, Storm, Raiders, Warriors being the top 4 at the end of the season.
Okay, just quick at the Raiders. Give you 10 more seconds on them. That first half, the second half performance doesn't really excuse the first half. They got the 2 points, but that's something to be
Glass
concerned
half
about.
full, glass half empty on this. That's your top 4 right now. That top 4 stays until the end.
No.
Dogs, Storm, Raiders, Warriors. Tell me who's going to break into that.
Well, Bulldogs, yes. I don't think as much as Brisbane, I thought, just blew them off the park. I think I text you men against boys. I was pounding your phone that night. I know you're in bed and I was sending you texts. And I sent Gunny a couple as well.
Yeah, more than one.
Yeah. But I don't think the Dogs are that bad. I think that the momentum just swung so hard against them. And then the second half, they sort of were able to right the ship a little bit. But the Dogs should stay in there. But they've got some suspensions.
Yeah,
Tupanel's out for 5 games.
Sure.
So this could
15 weeks worth of suspensions.
Well, this could derail their middle part
Storm,
of their season a bit.
top 4.
Storm will be top 4.
Raiders, top 4.
I don't know. I don't know.
Warriors, say it.
I'd lean towards no than yes. But, as I said before, the Warriors are doing all the right things at the moment. This reminds me of 2018. Do you remember what happened in 2018? So the Warriors...
We won 8 games?
No.
9 games.
The Warriors, they got to the finals. They won 15, lost 9. Really good record, actually.
And then Penrith just absolutely...
It was that weird year under Cooney where they were really good, the Warriors.
What was
but
it,
they
40
started.
points or
They
50
started.
points in
No.
that game?
It was 27-12 or something.
It was
like that.
wasted though. We
Yeah,
didn't
the
win that game.
scoreline flattered the Warriors. But the Warriors won their first 5 games of the season. And they got off to an absolute rocket start, but then they finished the season 10-9. But through those first 5 games, I think they beat Souths, who ended up making the top 4. They beat the Roosters, who ended up making the top 4. I think they might have beaten the Roosters twice that year. But they sort of took advantage of some teams who had slow starts to the season. And then everyone sort of got going, and then the Warriors fell down to 8th on the table and lost in the first week of the finals. I feel like a similar thing could be happening here with the Warriors. There's nothing wrong with it. They're getting their points early. They're winning their games. Yeah. But I think they're catching a few teams who aren't quite finding their feet. I'd argue.
But for those teams.
Well,
then.
no, I'm not. It's nothing against the Warriors. I'm wondering if it could be something similar.
All right.
I'm wondering.
Glass half full, glass half empty. 2 to go. On these teams, there's 5 of them. Sharks, Manly, Tigers, Dragons, Rabbits. All are sitting on 8 points. All are 4-4 apart from the Dragons who are 3-4.
Sorry, Sharks,
Manly, Tigers, Dragons, Rabbits.
Sharks, glass half a smidge full.
Okay.
There's like a millimetre or 2 more than there is less.
Okay, well, they've lost 1-1 lost. Manly?
I don't know about Manly. I don't think there's anything really special about beating Penrith at the moment, even though I just said, 5 minutes ago, I think Penrith beat Brisbane this weekend.
All right, they've lost
so
and won.
Glass half
Tigers, lost 1 again. So every week it's a... you don't know?
I think as long as the Tigers are around that 500 mark, you've got to be glass half full because of where they've been the last few years.
Dragons lost 1-1 lost. So
Glass
again,
half
you see
full.
the pattern here: 2 wins, 2 losses.
I am hot on the Dragons in a sense.
Okay,
maybe not hot. I'm warm on the Dragons.
Rabbits also with 8 points. Glass. Lost their last 3.
I don't know about the Rabbits either. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I'm George Costanza. I've got nothing.
Finally, glass half full, glass half empty. Magic round. You're going to magic round.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
With how many mates?
8 of us? 9 of us? 8.
Well, so what I'm thinking is you've all got your own separate hotel rooms. You've got a bucket full of cash. You've got the casino there.
Bucket full of cash?
Single men.
In this current
You're going
climate?
to magic round in Brisbane. Oh, got my dancing shoes in my bag. I'm going to go out night clubbing.
Yeah. Might see a few Broncos players out.
I dare say.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked. I'm excited. I can't wait. But the only problem, Thursday
There's
morning.
no problem. Don't invent a problem.
The Thursday morning, the alarm's gone off at about 2:30 to catch the flight.
So you're arriving in Brisbane. The first night it's going to right?
We've already got.
Friday night.
We land in Brisbane.
Saturday night. Sunday.
Did we land? We landed about 10
I want to see the camera on you guys on Sunday where you get tickets for Sunday and all of you just sitting there in the stand cradling lemonades.
We're lying down.
Mummy, get me home, Mummy.
Yeah. But no, we've got like a lunch and dinner already booked on the first day. Someone's brought up a pub crawl. Someone's got an apartment in the city. Said, "Come round. We've got a pool.
Come round. We've got a pool.
It's going to be great. I've already sussed out with the casino. It's going to be great. Yeah. I can't wait. This sounds terrible. I'm obviously looking forward to the rugby league, but I'm almost looking forward to everything else outside of it as well. I'm looking forward to the dinners. I'm looking forward to the pub crawls. I'm looking forward to the boys. I'm looking forward to
no girls involved here. No girls.
Well, we'll see what else. From when the last game finishes right up until bedtime, we'll see what the success rate is. Then from Betty Byers right up until the next day when games finish up, then it's no.
Everyone watching is jealous, mate. We all wish we were there too.
Well, the bank account's not enjoying it, but I don't care.
This is the DSPN